What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, the show where we talk the shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Join the chat, join on the conversation. If you're a subscriber over there, if you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. It posts the very next day over on YouTube. Just search Enigma911 at 12 noon Eastern. You can check out the video over there. So yes, we have a new show that we're starting. Hawkeye wrapped up, so we're kind of in this weird lull time period because Miss Marvel doesn't start till summer. Moon Knight, I think, is this year, but I have no idea when that starts. So we're talking about a show that maybe not on Disney Plus, but actually does tie into the MCU with some confirmations now. Spoiler for Spider-Man. Daredevil's back in the MCU. So we're going back, doing a little time travel, and we're going to be going through the Daredevil series, just starting with season 1 right now, and we'll kind of figure out what route we want to take as time moves on and possibly other shows start. So we're just starting with season 1, episode 1 of Daredevil, Into the Ring. Now, a lot of you may be watching this like, yo, this show is 5 years old at this point. I don't know, it might be older. Let's say 2016-ish. So 6 years old. That wasn't too far off. We already know what's happened. Well, I didn't watch the show. I watched a few episodes, and for some reason, the Netflix shows, while they were really good, I just couldn't stick around for them. I don't know if at that time it was just the hour-long episodes. It was like, oh my god, this is such a, not a task, like a bad thing, but it felt like a commitment. Like, I need to set time aside to do this, and then I just never did. But now, obviously, we're doing that week to week with the other shows, and it's just more of routine, I guess, or normal. So we're watching it now. I don't know what happens in future Daredevil seasons. Obviously, I know the other shows, and eventually we'll get Defenders, but I don't know the itty-bitty nitty-gritty details. So I'm watching it fresh. If you're rewatching it with us, you get to laugh at all the funny theories that we think are going to happen. And if you're watching it fresh along with us, cool. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get on into it, episode 1. So we're going to start off this episode with a kind of little quick origin story for our man, Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil, and figure out what has happened to him as a kid. Turns out he was involved in an accident. He was able to save an older gentleman from getting hit, but in the process of the whole car accident and traffic incident, he has become blind due to some hazardous waste being spilled on the scene. So we're going to get this, like I said, very quick, just kind of in and out of what has happened to him. And we'll move on to current day. We're going to open up with Matt in a confessional, and he's kind of giving us a little bit more backstory, not about himself per se, but about his dad and what he has done with his life and his boxing career. Said, like, his dad was a great boxer, didn't have the best win-loss record, but, you know, he would always get up no matter what happened to him. He would always take the beating but get back up, and sometimes in the fights, for some reason, like if something had happened, he would kind of let that rage or, I don't know, influence take over him, and he would put on a whooping to some guys in the corner. So he's sharing this story with the priest, and we're kind of wondering, he's wondering why that, you know, he's sharing this. But Matt eventually explains, like, I've come here to get forgiveness for what he's going to do, not what he has done. And the priest is confused once again. He's like, that's not how this works. And we're going to cut over to our next scene. We're going to see some trouble afoot. We're going to see some girls being taken away in like a shipping container, trafficking, fun stuff. So we're going to see that, and Daredevil, Matt, is going to hop in his very pedestrian outfit, I guess is the best way you could say it. Simply just like all black with a face covering and to cover some of his identity. And he'll go to town and whoop some ass there. With this fight, we are going to kind of see at least a little bit of what Matt's abilities are. Now, he's not super powered. The hazardous waste didn't make him like the Hulk or anything, but because of his inability to see, his other senses have kind of been heightened, especially his hearing and sensing things through that. So we're kind of going to see them play with that, how certain elements around the dock are going to allow him to do this fight without dying immediately. Certain sounds from guns or footsteps, the container itself. So he's able to handle business there, including taking a like electric taser, I don't know what you would call that, and knocking out one of the gunmen with that via a ricochet off of one of the containers. He's able to save the girls, tell them to escape, and they're able to get out of there. But we are going to see one more thing before this scene will wrap up, that Matt kind of also has this rage inside of him, probably because of what's being done is not right. He's just going to kind of lay in some shots on one of the gunmen and just kind of go, even though obviously the situation has been handled. So after we see this beat down, we're finally going to get the opening credits. Very cool little paint effect that they got with the red filling in some of the scenery and eventually the title itself. We're going to open up back with Matt, but he's at home. He's going to get a call from his good buddy Foggy Nelson, his partner in crime, and we're going to see that Foggy is bribing a cop, or rather bribing his mother, with some cigars to kind of see if the cop will tip him off on certain situations that are happening around the city. I guess him and the cop had known each other since school, so they do have the past relationship there. So through this scene, we learn that Foggy and Matt are opening up pretty much a law office for themselves to defend people. And that's the route they're going to take. So we see them even finding a new office space for themselves and figuring that out. And in this office showing, we're going to learn or hear more of how the show is connected and how this is pretty soon after the event of Avengers 1. And they're going to talk about the incident, aka the attack on New York City, how a lot of people are recovering. Apparently Hell's Kitchen, the area they're in, is on the rebound. So they're able to find this space. They like it. They lock it down and are able to proceed from there. And then we cut to probably where we're going to start speeding things up a little bit for what the scenario, at least for this episode, is going to be. We're going to cut to a woman holding a knife in her apartment and seemingly a dead man just right in front of her, all bloodied up. She seems in a panic, doesn't know what's going on. Cops are going to bust in. And, obviously, hello, this whole situation. It seems like she has killed this man. And all she can say is, "I didn't do this," in a very panicked tone, as we will see that play out. We're going to skip back over to Matt and Foggy, where they got the information from the cop that Foggy had tipped off, and they're going to help out this woman. Woman's name is Karen. Karen she's very confused. Like, she's in a panic. She doesn't know who they are. She doesn't know the whole situation of what's going down. She didn't do this, she still claims. They introduce themselves. "Hey, we're just trying to get new clientele. We've been doing this for 7 hours." And they pretty much are just like, "Okay, what's the deal? We want to help." The only thing that Karen really shares, she didn't do it. She worked with the guy who was dead. He worked in the legal department. She didn't know a lot of people in her firm or in the office that she worked for. The guy seemed nice, so she asked him to drinks. Something happened, like just blackout memory, and then the next thing she knew, they were in the apartment with the man dead. So everything points to Karen not really defending herself super well here, which she says that as well. Everything here seems fishy. But as they're listening, Matt will focus on her and what she's saying, her dialogue choices, and as well as her heartbeat. And initially, well, not initially, he believes her. He believes everything she's saying, her story, and stuff like that, so he decides to take on the case. Foggy's not too happy about it. He is very supportive of Matt, but she has no money, and obviously everything right now points to, well, you're kind of the person. We're going to cut over to some random dude having his lunch out in the park. All right. Random dude's going to get approached by another random dude. But this guy is trouble. He's looking for money. A whole lot of money. I think it was like $28,000, something like that. Something insane. And he's pretty much just trying to collect his funds. Or, lay it on like, hey, you owe us this money. This isn't good. He's going to show a live feed of the man's daughter at college, kind of know that this threat is real and, people are in danger. But instead of asking for the money now, he asks instead for a favor from this gentleman. It's a very short scene, but this is going to kick back in later. We're going to cut over, once again, back to Matt and Foggy. They're talking about the whole case. They're talking about maybe settling with a deal. For the whole case, and obviously Karen will be in jail for a little bit. Matt's totally against this. He's like, no, we're not settling for a deal. Why didn't they press charges? They should have done that immediately, or at least it should have happened by now. And something's not right. Something's fishy about this whole situation. Like, things aren't going normally how, I guess, this procedure, a murder charge, would happen. Nothing's in the paper, no charges are placed, etc. So he says she may not be guilty, but may not be telling the entire truth. We're going to cut back over to Karen. She's in her cell. She's sleeping. And bam, attacked. She's attacked by someone in her cell, seemingly a cop. And cop's choking her out with the sheet that was on the bed. Looks really scary. This is really intense. Luckily, Karen is able to reach up and gouge an eyeball, with her nail and get free for a moment. In this moment that she does reach out and gouge the eye, we are going to see this is the man who was eating his lunch earlier. So we know the little connection there, why he was so important at this moment and not giving back his money. She's going to break free for a moment. She's able to free herself and get a moment to scream and reach out for help. Another quick scene, but we're skipping back over to Matt and Foggy. Are you guys keeping along with this? Hopefully you are. They're talking to the DA. They're not happy about the whole situation. Obviously, Karen was just literally in her cell doing nothing, and she's been attacked on their watch. Apparently, the cameras in the area went on the fritz just before, so that's convenient. But essentially, they're able to get Karen out of jail in their possession to try and, obviously keep her safe and not repeat this scary incident. So now we're back at the new office that the gentlemen have got for themselves. And they're trying to learn more information about the whole case. What's going on? We need to know any information you have, the truth, so we can help you. We can't help you if you can't help us. Or don't let us help you, exactly. So she says, okay. She finally feels open enough to do that. They set up a recording, and she pretty much dishes the story that she has. She worked financial at work. She noticed she was in charge of like pensions or something like that. She noticed one email, big pension plan. She opened it. Wasn't supposed to open it, apparently. Thought it was for the boss, not for her. And it was a big pension, and there's a lot of money essentially being thrown around. So something's fishy, something's off. She talks to her boss about it. Boss laughs in her face, and she doesn't know what's going on. So she decided to ask the guy in legal for assistance. Leads to the drinks, leads to the blackout, leads to the stabbing. Claims to be maybe it was drugged, because obviously that's why they blacked out after telling this guy. And yikes, whole situation's out there. Karen starts to freak out because now she has informed them, obviously by telling the lawyer dude or the guy in legal, he got hurt. So now that she's told Matt and Foggy, they have the chance to get hurt. So she's just like, I gotta get out of here. I don't want anybody else dying on my hands. Fisher had a whole family, a little son and stuff like that. She feels guilty. Obviously, Matt and Foggy are not going to let her leave. They try and calm her down, ask her if she has any place to stay. Can't stay at her apartment. She tries to do that, but like, no, that's ridiculous. That'd be way too easy for them to find you. So Matt offers up his place. We're going to skip over to the apartment. And really, this scene didn't add too much. We see, obviously, he's got a dope place. There's a big-ass billboard outside of his window, but he doesn't mind because, well, he's blind. So he's dealing with that. And then, the only really thing that comes out of this scene is we are going to get one tidbit of information that Matt is going to kind of, I guess, pry out of Karen. He's wondering why wouldn't they just kill Karen? Obviously, they took care of Fisher. Like, why risk it? Why keep her alive instead of just eliminating her if there wasn't a reason to still keep her around? She says she has no idea. She claims she didn't copy the file, etc., nothing like that, so she shouldn't have any evidence on her. While she's telling this to Matt, Matt is going to pick up once again on her heartbeat. Realizes she's lying. Of course. So, this is going to lead to Karen eventually leaving the apartment. She sneaks out, and she's going to go to her apartment. But I forgot about one scene that we're going to input right here before she sneaks out. We're going to get a random powwow on a building that's like being constructed. I know how to word. It's called the Union Allied Construction Site. So they're building some new building, whatever. This was the company, I believe, that Karen was working for. And we're going to see a group of, I believe, 5 individuals. Two Russian guys, an older Asian woman, a Japanese gentleman, and then some older old guy just complaining about how cold it was. As they're doing their little powwow, waiting for whoever they're meeting with, we're going to see the schmuck who's trying to collect money show up. He's like, hey, what's going on? They question the Russian guys. The Russian guys are in charge of the whole trafficking project on the docks. There was a guy in a mask. He took care of our guys, and he let the girls go. Didn't take the girls for himself. Nothing there. Okay. Interesting. Weird. All right. So we share that info. We learn in this information from this little powwow, along with, obviously, now they know about Daredevil incident. We know that there is a higher boss of this group that did not arrive. The broker dude, the money guy, whatever we want to call him, he lets the rest of the group know that that guy or gal, the boss, is not going to show up. Okay. This seems similar to anybody right now? That's all we're going to get from this group. Just a quick little random group of people who are doing bad stuff, and they're working for somebody. Okie dokie. Now, Karen's going to leave. She's going to sneak out. Gets past Matt, whatever. She goes back to her apartment, because now that conversation piece has come up of the copied file, and she's out, she's going to go recover it. She managed to copy the file onto a floppy drive, hide it in, I believe, her ceiling tile. And what's up?
A floppy drive?
Oh, yes, a floppy drive. You know, a floppy disk, the square thing with the circle, on a flash drive. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. On a flash drive. Copied it over to there, hid it in her ceiling tiles in the bathroom. She's able to recover that. And as she's leaving, we see an attacker approach. Bashes her head into the wall, pulls out a knife, but guess who's here to save the day? Daredevil will arrive just in time at the front door, and the fight will spill out to the alleyway. We're going to continue with this fight in the alleyway. However, we're going to do a quick little side tangent. Flashback time. Flashback. Essentially just seeing Matt as a child, having some tough time studying. He was a little tired. It was late. And essentially it's his dad just saying, hey, I want you to be better than me. I don't want you to be in my situation. He just got back from a fight. He's all banged up, broken, bloodied. He shares that with Matt by, taking his hand and having us feel his wounds on his face from the fight. And, he's trying to motivate his son, tells him to get back up. And we'll reflash over to present day. Matt's going to get up, and he's going to whoop some ass in the rain in the alley with this armed assailant. A lot of cool choreography here with the fight. We're going to see a little bit more of the use of the, I'm going to say sonar, but the hearing ability, so he's able to hear what is going on in this fight. And he's able to chain up the attacker on a wall and disarm him from there. Karen's going to make it down to the alleyway. She's, thankful for the save, but she's still concerned, like, this is a threat. Daredevil's going to take the drive and say this is going to get in the right hands. Karen claims there are no right hands. You can't go to the cops with this information. You can't do anything like that. We don't know, essentially, who's working for who. Obviously, we've seen all the kind of shady people in this episode alone. So he says, all right, and essentially just takes the information and dumps it so everybody knows what was on this drive. We only see it on the newspapers that they'll put out an article about that. I assume that he put it everywhere and anywhere, saying newspapers not the only media present, but he's going to share all that info and get that out there to kind of help clear Karen's name. So we expose that information, and what the hell are we doing? Oh, okay. So because this information has been shared, we're going to cut over to the money man one more time, and he's talking to his big boss on the phone. Tells him the whole situation, like the information's out there, fills in about what the rest of the group is going to do. It sounded like they were going to cover it up somehow. I don't know if they were going to throw somebody under the bus, essentially. Just kind of talks about, like, it's not that big a deal. Then he asks, what do we do with Karen Page? Do we keep pursuing her? Whatever. Big boss says no. Everything she knew is now out there now, so forget about her. However, he asks about Foggy and he asks about Matt. He wants to keep eyes on them because they kind of just showed up out of nowhere, obviously helped with the situation, and now it seems to be taken care of, obviously. So Karen's in the clear, but the file has been opened on our law friends. We're going to cut back over to the good squad. They're all happy, having some dinner. Karen's, in a better place. Foggy essentially says, yeah, we're glad to help, but you really owe a lot to the guy in the mask, whoever that was, to helping you out. He jokes about still billing her, and she's going to officially join the team as kind of like their secretary, cleaning assistant lady. So, hey, welcome to the team, Karen. And then we're going to get one more closing scene. We're going to see Matt arriving to a boxing gym, kind of as the owner, whoever was there last, is going to kind of pass out the door and leave. And he's pretty much going to go training mode. So we get a little quick montage. We see him beating the shit out of a boxing bag. And we're going to follow up with the little powwow community that we had seen earlier. We are going to see the older gentleman doing some transfer of money. We are going to see the cop ally, the older gentleman with the lunch and the sandwich earlier. We're going to see him dead in, I believe, his home. And unfortunately, his daughter is going to discover the body. We are going to see the older Asian woman. She's running, I assume, a coke ring. Some kind of drug organization down there. So that's fun. We're going to see the Japanese gentleman looking at some blueprints. I don't know if this was blueprints of buildings or maybe the city. And then we're going to see the Russian guys kind of gearing up with more weaponry for their operation. So we're seeing pretty much an overlay of like all the shitty things that are going down in the city with this group. Yes, the laundry room was where the cop dad was left. Exactly. We're going to close with one more scene as Matt is going to finish up his training. We'll see him kind of looking out into the city or keeping watch. We are going to see one more incident of a man and his son getting pulled over or stopped by the Russian team, and the dad is beaten up, and the son will be kidnapped. Matt is going to hear this, and then we'll cut to credits. I don't know what the connection of this son is, or this person. Maybe this is another person that happens to owe money for the big boss, but we'll have to see where that ends up or leads to in episode 2. So that's a whole lot of information for episode 1 of Daredevil. Holy moly. I mean, I guess if we're being frank, my name's not Frank, but if we're being frank, we know who the big boss is at this point. We saw, obviously, in last series that we covered here, Hawkeye went a very similar route of keeping the head honcho secret, hush, hush. We'll hear things here and there from them. We are eventually going to reveal this is the Kingpin. Spoiler. So we've heard him on the phone. We've heard the voice. So we know Kingpin is pulling the strings in this situation. It's going to be interesting to see how that will play out in the next coming episodes. If maybe even that situation is completed in this season. I don't know clearly how this plays out, but is this going to be a conclusion with Kingpin, or will there be that confrontation at the end of this season where Kingpin is fought or dealt with? Or is this going to be a slow build where we're going to tackle the powwow team members one at a time to eventually maybe reach that pinnacle, the high boss of Kingpin? So we'll have to see from there. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, a little bit different pacing than maybe some of the shows we've seen more recently, but it was good. One thing, maybe this is a small criticism. I had to put subtitles on for this, especially for the confessional scene. I don't know if I just couldn't, they were talking softer. I know Netflix does that sometimes where they're like, we're talking really soft. Now we're talking really loud. There's no, middle ground or audio, I don't know, dealing with. So that was a little but other than that, the choreography in this is really good. And there is an episode coming up, I believe actually in episode 2, that is going to be fantastic. I'm very excited to talk about that scene. But yeah, so that would be my only criticism for this. Very dark as well. I get it. He's got to work in the shadows. Not Batman. Duh. But a lot of night stuff, so makes sense that it's dark. But we'll have to see where it goes from here. Let's see what chat talked about in here. Foggy reminds me of the cop sidekick to Harvey in the TV Batman series Gotham. Oh, okay. I know you guys are really into Gotham. Mrs. G and Papa Griff, I know you guys are really into Gotham. I think I only watched a few episodes with you guys, so I don't know Harvey's sidekick per se, but cool. Yeah, Foggy's a really cool character. I like this actor's, wit about him. Peanut Gallery messaged me during this recording, who the fuck names their kid Foggy? That's a good question. Maybe it stands for Fogward. I don't know. Fogward Nelson. But yeah, I'm interested to see how his character grows. Obviously, with him not knowing Matt's true identity of Daredevil, I don't think he'll ever figure that out. Just seeing more of the common man approach on the legal side of things, see how he grows and where we go with him in this series. Okay, you mentioned the closed captionings as well. Talked about the people in the room. And yeah, okay. So, that's been episode 1 of Daredevil. I hope you guys enjoyed it so far. We're going to obviously continue talking about this show for the next coming weeks. I believe there's 13 episodes in total, so we got some time there. Right now, we're only going to focus on Season 1. If we do have time, maybe before the next Disney Plus series or whatever, we will obviously continue on with this show and talking about it. And then we'll figure out what we're doing with the rest of those characters as well, too, that will eventually pop up in their own series. But thank you guys so much for hanging out today. This has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. My name's Bret, aka Enigma911. You can catch it live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join in on the chat and all the fun theory talks and stuff like that over there, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. But if you can't catch it live, very next day it posts over on YouTube. Just search Enigma911 and you can find it over there at 12 noon Eastern. So yeah, more Daredevil incoming. A little bit of a flashback, a little bit of a rewatch for potentially for some people. But yeah, should be a good time. Hope you guys had a good time today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.